All right. So I need to tell myself, remind myself again, why am I playing Sokoto? Because here I am, I'm playing Sokoto. Well, here are the things that draw me to it and the things that I want to accomplish. Number one, it is a smaller country. Number two, it needs a lot of development. If we take a look at that technology chart, there's not a whole lot getting, not a whole lot here in the tree that we already have discovered. It's very, very sparse. And yeah, I mean, I've even got to discover universities here. So that's job one. Discover university, and job two is let's get some better administration here. There's a lot to be done with that. Okay, so we've got those things. But why this one and not say some other one? Well, number one, it although it's got a smaller population than say England or France, it does have a rather large population relative to its neighbors. So there's some potential for some dominance, some big plays like that. And two, it also has access to iron and coal, which are going to be needed for making steel, which is vital for industrialization later on. So it's got a good position there. Now, what are the challenges? Well, number one, if a European nation settles the Niger Delta here, it is going to result in them making a claim on all of Sokoto outside of Cameroon and Hausaland, I think. It's going to get it's going to get regular Hausaland, East Hausaland, Nigeria, and Benin and Oyo. So that's a big deal. If you have a major power with claims and can do just return state on your most important parts of your country. So that's number one. Number two, even if I don't get attacked there, expansion is going to bump into the British, Dutch, French, Danish. Now the Dutch and Danish might get bumped out by the British or the French, but it's Britain and France don't knock each other out, and I'm going to bump into them. That's a potential limit on expansion westward. And certainly they could turn their desires inward towards my territory. So that's going to be something there where I need to industrialize to the point where once they are ready to attack because of their discoveries, and with the colonization mod that I have, they're not going to be able to get into the malarial area of Africa until much later. So I've got a ticking timer, if you will, on getting that stuff taken care of before I fight them. And if I can industrialize and modernize quickly enough, I might be able to meet them on their own terms or close to their terms when they are ready to take on colonization in Central and Western Africa. Now, the other thing that Sokoto could do is potentially expand eastward across the Sahel into Sudan and then East Africa. The East African area is something that the European powers don't look at very much and would essentially be a free area to go in on where I don't have a huge penalty to relationships, and they're not going to be potentially interfering with activity in the Ethiopia region. East Africa, they might do something there, but that's for later on. I'm getting ahead of myself here. I want to start with Sokoto because good resources, good population, and definitely it has the ability, I think, to expand and modernize in advance of British or French activity. The other nations, they're just very small. Messina, maybe, but they're going to run right into France and England if they go west, and they can't really go east that much, or if they do, they hit Sokoto, and that's going to be a tough enough one on its own. So, yeah, I'm picking that one to start with. And one of the first things I'm going to do is build 2 construction in every major province of Sokoto. All 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. 2 construction. That's it. I can't go much beyond that because if I do, I'm going to have a huge shortage of wood because of the we're using wooden frame construction. And I don't have a lot of wood going on right now. So I have to build the construction, then build the wood, then build more construction, then build more wood, and then hopefully I'll have discovered urban planning and I can go to the next level of construction, the iron frame buildings, and then I got to go find some iron, which is going to be in Benin and Nigeria. All right, so I've got that planned out there. Um, One thing that happens with Sokoto is at the start, you can go directly for guaranteed liberties. There's no opposition to it, hardly any opposition. They're marginalized, and the intelligentsia kind of like it. So if I go straight for guaranteed liberties, I can have some very interesting things happen where we reduce revolution and secession movements and reduce radicals and increase loyalists. That's a win-win-win. I love guaranteed liberties later on in the game. It's very difficult to get as an industrialized country. Here, you just take it off the rack. So yeah, I'm going to pass that first thing. And then we're going to start industrializing once we get our construction going. Now, the other thing to do militarily is launch an attack on Benin. Right at the beginning of the game. No other European power has an interest in the region, so they won't get involved in it. And there's a chance that Oyo might join in on Benin's side, and I can pick that one up as well. If I get both Oyo and Benin, the Yoruba states and Benin, then that's a good population boost and a good strength for expanding out to the rest of, well, Western Africa and the Sahel region. Well, I launched my attack on Benin. Oyo joined the war. This is going to go well. I'm demanding both those states. My armies are strong enough. We'll take care of it. Now, both Benin and Oyo have a pretty Benin has got a really tough military that if I only attack them 1-to-1, I'd be at a disadvantage. So I need to put the whole force in, and then we'll be able to make them into short work there. Still working on guaranteed liberties, and we're still working on our construction. I mean, it's only February 15th, but this play is working out. All right, some months have passed. We finally took out both Benin and the Yoruba states. They're now part of Sokoto. We're incorporating them. One thing that's interesting with this is if it's there are a lot of homelands for the people of Sokoto, and where they have a homeland, it only takes 9 months to incorporate the state. Whereas the Yoruba states, it's going to take 13 years. We don't have a homeland there. It's just for the Fon and Yoruba. But that's something that's going to come into play because I believe all the way out to Mali and this area here is going to be where it takes 9 months to incorporate. I'm all in favor of that. They'll recover from their devastation and we'll be able to proceed forward. Now, which way do we go? Well, we're already in producing stuff other than construction. I'm working on some government buildings because my administration needs improvement. We had a fruit shortage. I'm working on that. Wood comes next because I need wood. We need to get some banking going on. We're very busy with our builds, but we don't need to increase our army size in that we're not going to really have any big competition if we play it carefully. Now, do I go for Dahomey or do I go for some other territory? The answer is, if I go for Dahomey and we take a look at interactions and we take a look, let's say annex country, I see here France and Great Britain probably not likely to get involved, but I see an Egypt there at a -10. Egypt is ready to flex in this game. It's looking for trouble here. And it's not busy right now. It's still 1836. I look at the Egyptian plays. Yes, it's a protectorate, but protectorates can launch their own diplomatic plays. If I go after Dahomey, because it's got a port, if Egypt supports them, the Egyptian army shows up there. And if I look at my army, I've got a strength of 355. The Egyptian army has a strength of 935. I can't win. I can't build fast enough to get there. It just won't work. Now, some of you may have noticed also that, wait a minute, how'd you get so many construction points? You only have 2 in each area. I do need to make sure I come clean with how I'm playing Sokoto in this game, and that means we go to the game rules, and I go down here to player constant buffs. Yes, I'm playing with some buffs until I get to where I can meet and beat another major power in Europe. So I'll do a lot of stuff in Africa, but once I say it's time to take on France or England, that's when I turn these off. And I've got ones that'll boost construction, ones that give me additional construction points. I've got ones that boost investment, ones that boost income. They provide a certain floor. My justification, well, if I played a really good game of CK3 and EU4 and then import them into Victoria 3 as a part of a grand campaign, I could potentially have a massive Sokoto all over the place. But I didn't do that. I limited myself. So, yeah, whatever. We'll have a slightly taller Sokoto there. And then once I'm ready to meet the European powers on more or less equal terms, turn those off, turn the buffs on for Europe, and then let them benefit from that stuff there. They'll have an increased birth rate and things like that. Well, not increased birth rate, but increased tech rate, things like that. It'll help them out. So, yeah, I am playing with the buffs, and I've got them set here. There's my construction bonus, and yes, I'm getting a population growth bonus too. So, once I, all these then go towards the AI opponent once I start meeting them in war. So, just to be clear, that's I am giving myself some boostiness. But rather than go for Dahomey, where the Egyptian army is going to be able to beat me, and I can't produce fast enough to get there, if I take on something that is inland, like Borgu, Gobir, Bornu, Bagirmi, Wadai, as long as they don't touch another nation, I can take them and get away with it. So the other side would be, if Egypt gets involved in something, then I can go and grab stuff that it's next to, like Dahomey or Darfur, and enjoy some expansion there. While the rest of the world is busy, I can grab things. If the world's not busy, stay back, because I don't want them to become busy on my behalf. Now you understand how we're playing this. All right. Took out Dahomey. And not Dahomey, there's a Dahomey state there, but yeah, Borgu, pick them up, and we're building out there. They're adding more construction, so I get that bonus there. I'm also working on building the wood. The guaranteed liberties passed, and now I'm working on professional army. When doing the modernization and passing laws for Sokoto, find ones that are essentially cheap or free in terms of penalties. If there's a very small interest group penalty or no interest group penalty, and it moves you forward, consider grabbing onto it. If we take a look at these laws here, this is modernization is really won and lost in the laws that you go after. So we've got guaranteed liberties, working on professional army, getting off of this. I need to get off of serfdom. Serfdom is a big one to get out of, because by doing that, we're able to change from traditionalism and do some other things there. Also, we need to get off of slave trade. And if I look here, what I could do after I take care of the army thing is switching over to legacy slavery is something that doesn't have any opposition. Now, slave trade, you can see here, gives plus 50% landowner strength. Legacy slavery only gives plus 25%. So I could, yes, I keep slavery, but I weaken the landholders, and it's that landholder opposition that's going to be the most important when I finally do ban slavery. So if I can weaken the landholders by going to legacy slavery, uh, getting from serfdom to tenant farmers to homesteading, or maybe go directly to homesteading, who knows? For the police force, we may have to appease them by going to local police force, but then getting over to dedicated police force, if we can do that, that shifts the power from the landholders to the petite bourgeoisie. And by doing these things to take power away from the landholder group, we're going to get in a position where we could get rid of slavery. And that's important for modernization. If I get voting rights, even just landed voting rights, that'll increase the or that'll increase the recognition ticker by 1 per month. But if you have slavery, it subtracts 1, so it cancels out. Get rid of slavery, and you advance along the path of recognition. And I definitely want to do that. So we're going to keep expanding eastward across the Sahel until Egypt and France get busy. And typically, if France picks on one of these guys here, Tunis and Egypt get involved. And when that happens, France gets busy with them. It's a big war, and I can grab Dahomey. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. All right, I kept myself busy out in this area here. And now, after having taken over Gobir and Borgu, and or Bornu, whatever, and I'm getting ready to go onto these, suddenly France attacks Ait Abbas, and I see supporting is Egypt. Perfect there. Now, they also have a truce with me because as I was picking these guys off, Egypt actually supported one of them, but they couldn't get an army over there. So I've got a truce with Egypt, but they'll still get they can still get involved if it's a defensive war. But now's the time to go after Dahomey. We're going to get in there, and yes, I know we're almost there with professional army. As for construction, we've got now. Let's take a look here. Oops, let's just add. Yeah, by taking out the other parts of Outer Hausaland, that added up more construction there. So just through conquest, we've added additional construction capacity. That's keeping us moving along. We're building almost got our bank built, but we got a lot more wood to go there. And yeah, we're going to take these things out here. Also, it's something I should be looking at under diplomatic actions is recruit a foreign scientist. You can do that, I think, once every 5 years. And I'll just say that I've actually played through this game up to 1869 or so. And these are save games that I'm going back on and like using as chapters. And I realize I should have been trying to get foreign scientists from day one, and I would have been like, I probably could have gotten like 2 or 3 before I got recognized. Because once you're recognized, you're not going to get foreign scientists. But the foreign scientists you get are helpful for improving, like, doing astronomy or or whatever it is you want to get done. They're good for doing that. Especially when I said astronomy, even if you get the event that says you must build an observatory, you need to get an astronomer to build an observatory. So either one, you've got that level of tech where you can have the right kind of university for getting that. And this is a Morgenroth thing, by the way. But the right kind of university for recruiting an astronomer, the orange one, the mechanical technical. Or you recruit an astronomer from far away, and then that guy shows up and says, y'all need to build an observatory here. And then you get that in your queue and you build your observatory. I could have had a much better lunar science program had I recruited an astronomer on day one. But as it is, that's just something next time I play Sokoto, I'll do that. Will there be a next time I play Sokoto? Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this right now. and there's no reason to stop. Okay, why am I having fun? Well, there's things to build, and if I start with a construction boost, I'm not there agonizing over how long it takes. I did do another run where I was just playing with normal and not having any buffs. It was taking a lot longer. It still wasn't totally boring because I had the laws to work through, but the European nations showed up and started knocking on my door, and I wasn't ready for that. And I feel giving a little extra boost for an African miner will help it to be competitive towards the mid part of the game. Just a thing I would do. For South American nations, it may not be necessary for that. Like Brazil, we should be fine there. But Africa, yeah. But anyway, but but with that boost, there's a lot of things to build. There's It's still slow, but a lot of things to build, and there's definitely a lot of action in not just I'm not just conquering the Sahel. I'm doing it carefully because I can't afford a major clash right now. I've got to do it stealthily and take little bits at a time. But now is the time to go in on Dahomey because Egypt is busy with France. Let's go to the next chapter. All right, we got Dahomey. Does nice. Got the whole state now. And we're ready to head back across the Sahel. We got our army tech, our army law passed. We're now working on private schools. Still got a lot of wood to make, and we need more administration to handle the incorporation of these states, but we're making some good progress. Yeah, life marches on. We could do with another bank, I think. As far as how the different interest groups are doing, yeah, we can see them right here. I was zooming because I was trying to like scroll this, but I'm already at the bottom. You can see the major interest groups, they're happy with things. I'm balancing enough various laws against them, or maybe the only opposition is from marginalized groups, but I'm able to pass these, and maybe also pass something that makes a major interest group mad, but over time, as we prosper, as our economy builds, they feel better and their approval goes up. So that's a good thing. Anyway, like I said, we're going to continue marching. We'll take Bagirmi and Wadai. Not yet Darfur. Reason. Darfur is close to Egypt, and Egypt might get involved. Another one to watch out on is Ashanti, because if I make a grab for it, there's a chance that Britain or France or the Dutch or the Danes or whoever will say that they have an interest in there, and they'll fight to protect that. If part of Ashanti is already taken, then we've got this inland area, and the other power will not interfere on behalf of that, and I might be able to take the Togo part. So if you're playing Sokoto, if I'm playing Sokoto, and I'm about to attack Ashanti, I will save the game, launch the play. If nobody gets involved in it, great, I'll take it. I did that in one of my test playthroughs, and I picked up the Ashanti, and I was like, yeah, and I'm colonizing stuff, and it's like feeling great. In this run, however, the tea leaves said, wait until after Great Britain does their business. They kept getting involved. I kept scum saving, and there's no way around it. Don't attack Ashanti. And when the British made their attack, and you notice they're also picking on the Dutch there, so they're going to get all of Ghana, I waited, and with them still busy over here, now is the time to attack Ashanti. Again, it's inland relative to all the other countries in the game. I'm not really worried about Tripolitania because although I share a border with them, the Ottomans aren't going to get involved in my stuff. And with Ashanti, they only share a border with Great Britain, and if the British are busy in a fight, they're not going to get involved with me. There's a really good chance they won't get involved with it. So now is the time to take that risk and attack Ashanti. We're almost done with our private schools. When we have that, We're going to have better education for everybody. I've also built out a lot more universities. Let's take a look at the University Tron there. Where'd it go? Oh, no, I haven't built them yet. Okay, I need to build them. All right, we need to build those universities, please. Okay. Once we get the universities built, then we're going to have even more technology, and we'll be better off there. We got to get the wood. That's right. We have to get the wood part fixed so we can have the construction go. And once we have the wood taken care of, and the paper taken care of, and a little bit more banking, and once we get all that going, then we'll be able to build a lot of things and start working at improving our education overall. So we're going to grab Ashanti. We're done with the Sahel, and once we pick up Ashanti, we are essentially focused on getting taller until something else happens. Okay, that's kind of a thing. But there is a very specific something else I'm going to get to, and I'll show you that right now. All right. You won't see it here, but if I go to this view and this view, you're going to see this, because we got the tech for colonization. And of them, colonial resettlement and colonial exploitation, there's a minus there. The rural folk will just absolutely lose their mind. But frontier colonization had no penalty. Now, frontier colonization is different from the other kinds in that you can only colonize what you have a direct land connection to. So if I went with one of the other kinds, I'd be able to, say, colonize in Senegal and then have the French get mad at me and attack me. That kind of happened in another game I tried before I did this one. So I didn't want to do that again. Frontier colonization, no penalty with the rural folk, and it allows me to expand, now that I've passed it, into Volta, Timbuktu, Niger, and Cameroon. Boom, boom. Take them all. It then now says staking our claims. Well, because I've taken Cameroon, now I have a claim on North and South Cameroon. No one else will colonize there. Beautiful. As for the other areas, no one else is getting into them because, one, Niger and Mali can't be reached by any other power. And two, Upper Volta here cannot be touched by the British because they don't have the tech necessary to actually get in there. So I can colonize that area, take it over, and we'll be fine. So we're good on that. All right. But yeah, now that I've got this going here, we're going to be doing some colonization. We'll be expanding. I will expect that this expansion here in either Upper Volta or Mali will put me in touch with Messina, and then that'll allow me to do a westward move, pick up Messina, Segu, and Kaarta. What about the Futa Toru or Futa Yalon? If I take this one out, this one might be more doable than Futa Toru because it borders on Sierra Leone, which is a puppet of the British, not an actual territory of theirs. But that's France, Senegal. And if I take Futa Toru, I share a border with France, and I better be ready to have a big fight. I might just keep these two as buffer states and just buffer away. We'll be fine with that. But now I am colonizing, and that's some fun. As it is, we're taking a little break here in construction. Maybe now is a good time to check on the old universities, and there we go. We've got 5 of them. We can probably build some more pretty soon. Having 5 universities is nice. Having about 200 will be really good because then we'll get a lot more tech that way. The same things that I'm worried about overdoing in a European power game, I'm not so worried here because I got a lot of catching up to do. So in terms of construction and research, I'm ready to let it rip. And yeah, it may mean that My Sokoto is slightly overpowered by the end of the game, or massively overpowered, but then there's a certain bit of fun in having an African country ranking in the tops in terms of science and technology. It just takes the colonial narrative and turns it on its head, which I think is a well-deserved thing to turn on the head, because it was a terrible thing what happened. And if instead the African nation can basically kick the Europeans out, well, that's a fun thing to do. Still building, still having some expansion here. It takes a long time to build the colonies. It's only June. And we've got to get a lot more iron here. We're still not yet ready to boom out with the universities. But if we take a look at our logging camps, we're now up to sawmills. It means we need some more iron, but with that we get more wood production, which is something we need more of. So that's why I'm building more iron, building a little bit at a time so I don't lose a lot of money, and we'll be fine. I've had to raise taxes a lot, which has impacted our standard of living. Yikes. But I can also ease up on those taxes eventually and get things better again. So we're going to work on that. But we're doing fine with that. One thing I'm taking a risk on that has made some groups rather angry, namely the landowners and the petite bourgeoisie, is I just passed the right to associate, or I'm working on passing the right to associate. I can go straight for it, and why not? The petite bourgeoisie are small. The landowners are, they're mad, but they're not going to revolt here, and it'll get the labor unions started along their way. And if they move up into power, they're going to be something that goes along with industrialists and intelligentsia and even armed services in wanting to modernize the country and get rid of slavery too. So we're gonna have, or actually, let me go back over here. Let's look at the institutions. We're working on colonial affairs. We've got some education. We could do with some more. We do have the local police force. We're going to have to switch over to dedicated police force. But yeah, we've got already level 3 of guaranteed liberties. And if we pass labor unions, that's in 1843, that's way more than any other country is going to have in terms of labor rights. So that's cool, man. That's cool. Okay, well, now we've started into the competition part. It's only 8 years in, and the British have landed a colony in the Niger Delta, and that, if we click on these states, Great Britain has a claim on Benin, Yoruba, Hausaland, East Hausaland, and Nigeria. So that whole area is now something that they will claim. That means if they attack, it's a return state thing, and they could stack those up a lot faster than they could, say, just conquer state. I need to be very careful with that. Now, I've already gone about maxing out my relations with the British and the French. I'm not attacking anything right now, so the relationships are holding steady. But I do have this lobby opportunity that says get a defensive pact with the USA. And even though I look over here and I see that, great, they got President James K. Polk. It's not the best one, but could be worse. We need to work on relationships with the USA to get a defensive treaty with them, if for no other reason than to help be a counterbalance to any potential British moves. If I can count on an ally that lends its strength to me in fighting, then we can keep the British out. Fingers crossed, hopefully. I got to continue to modernize, though. So let's see how that treaty thing works out. Okay, so there's some good news. We do now have the right to associate. We've got charity hospitals. We got some health care for our people. We're working on merchant banks being converted into free banking. We've actually discovered the banking technology so we can improve our banking sector. We have got landed voting too. That's going to help us out. That's a nice thing. We've gotten off of traditionalism and now we're on interventionism. I like mercantilism because it keeps our technology spread. If I go to protectionism, I lose that. If I go to free trade, I get more technology spread, but I also have potential other nations take over much advantage of that. I also notice I've got regulated alcohol from the start because of it's a Muslim country, so that boosts standard of living and reduces mortality. We get some additional penalties, but I'm okay with that. Anyway, so yeah, we've got some really good stuff going on for us there. The bad news is this lobby opportunity. The U.S. was not very interested in getting that defensive treaty. I keep checking things, and even if I give away lots of stuff, it's saying, yeah, no. And then I was like going, I don't know, I want to get that. I don't want the people to be mad at me. And then I took another look, and I saw something that was blue that wasn't blue before. It's this Mexico. And I go, oh, what's happened here? Ah, the USA has 163 infamy. They had their war with Mexico, and you can see they took all of this stuff and then a couple of other Mexican states and then made a puppet out of Mexico. I'm like, maybe I don't want a defensive treaty with them because with an infamy like that, they're likely to get attacked by somebody else who's trying to cut them down to size, and I don't want to get called in, and I don't want to have to say I'm going to cancel the treaty when you use it, because then I get a whole bunch of infamy, and I don't want to get a whole bunch of infamy just because you have a whole bunch of infamy. So this lobby opportunity we're going to let expire. It's going to just fade away. We're going to work on banking. We're going to work on improving things. I do have more universities now. They just need to staff up, but I'm going to be really ramping up my technology. You can see I'm building even more up here. Woohoo! And my private investment is now taking off. So that's a very, very good thing to see. My colonization, we're just one spot away. As soon as it touches Messina, bam. We head west and work on improving our army as well. We need to keep studying military tech. I've got 609 now with my army, and Egypt's strength is 1255. So what is the difference here? Well, the difference is they probably have line infantry and I don't. Once I discover line infantry, I think that's Napoleonic warfare, then my army should be on par with the Egyptian one, and I'll be able to have a war with them by way of Darfur. Take that out, and then if the Egyptians come to the rescue of Darfur, claim, I would say, Kordofan and Blue Nile and Eritrea first. And if I still have diplomatic place left, get Dongola and see what else I can do. But I want to be able to get this region here, Kordofan, Blue Nile, and Eritrea, so that way I block off Egyptian access to Ethiopia. I want this to be where I can guarantee some expansion for Sokoto, and that'll come after we pick up these guys out west here. Oh, my mistake. It's not Napoleonic warfare. It's line infantry. We have to discover that. But before we discover that, we have to do something about our transportation problem. And because of that, we've had to discover the atmospheric engine so we can get better stuff out of our mines. But that requires a lot more tools. So now we need to also get mechanical tools, which means we're going to have to work on our steel industry. And we're going to have to do that anyway because that leads to the discovery of railroads, which you need steel for famously. Once we get that figured out, we'll discover some other things through just other people sharing information with us. But once we get railroads done, then we should have the ability to build out that additional infrastructure to support our factories to keep our economy going. If we don't have that, we don't have the means to support our army because I've got the arms industries. I know I'm going to need them to provide weaponry for my forces. Once I go to line infantry, they need more muskets. But if I have a bunch of arms factories in a state that has a deficit in transportation, they don't get anywhere. They might as well just be stuck in the mud. So I have to discover rails before I start any further expansion. And as it is, we're still not yet there, but we got a big chunk of Timbuktu or Mali or whatever, and we're working on Volta. And look at that, North Cameroon, it's doing great. Yeah, we're doing fine with that. As far as laws go, here we are in 1850, and I got the tech for per capita taxation. Great one to have. We got that. We went to homesteading. I actually went straight to it from serfdom. It made the landholders mad, but they weren't like all the way into the revolt area mad. That's going to come later. Because we still have to get off of slavery here. But we do now have elected bureaucrats, so that helps with our administration. We went away from landed aristocracy to unitarism for our nation. That helps out there. Landed voting. Yeah, we're doing all right there. We get right of assembly from the start. That's nice. I won't go to censorship. We'll stand on that. We'll stand on that. Not yet ready to move off of rights of women. We got to first do something about slavery, and then once the landholders are made angry about that, then we can make the church angry about letting women have rights. But we've got to get our railroads built out, and once we discover those techs, and we have our iron and our steel and everything else going, and the tools, then we're ready to get a lot more building going on. We've also gotten our urban planning, so now our construction is 305. This is the point where if I got rid of the construction buff that I applied earlier, it's not going to make that big of an impact. I mean, it's going to be somewhat, but instead of it being like going from 75 to 20 or to 25, it'll be going from 305 to 255 or whatever it is I have it boosted by. You see, it's a much smaller percentage of the total, so I need it less. But let's get those railroads built and then see what happens. Well, what happens next is I try to ban slavery, and I wind up with the pro-slavery movement launching a potential rebellion here. They're probably going to kick off, but they've only got 49 battalions. I've got 106 total in my army, only 5 states. I can take it. I can handle this. The British are doing some stuff here over in Sierra Leone. They have a little rebellion there. They're not going to mess with me. So, yeah. We've got a pro-slavery movement, and looks like it's set to launch a rebellion. Yeah. But this gets us up to 1851. We've had that's the first 15 years of Sokoto. I'd say, yeah, this is definitely a country that's fun, especially if you got a boost for it, and if you're like a little worried, like I don't know if I can handle it, man. Give it those boosts with the or whatever mod it is I'm using to boost the or to buff the AI. You apply the buffs to yourself, you get good at it, and you've got a lot of stuff built out. I'm still not on a level where I could go toe to toe with other empires, but I don't even have my infantry upgraded yet. But I feel like this has been a lot of fun for the first 15 years. And as I mentioned, I've already played into the 1860s. It's a bang-on game. Well, let's find out what happens with that rebellion in the next episode. Like, comment, subscribe. Be good to yourself. Be good to your friends. Be good to other people. And we'll catch you in the next one.